So the third part that we now want to look at is ISO, which is sensitivity. So we have looked at, for example, how we can control the aperture and the shutter speed. But now we also need to account for the fact that we have another part of the triangle, which is how sensitive is my film. Now, this is dependent on a concept that has been done with films a lot before. And when you had actually picked up a film yourself, you may have seen it has numbers like ISO 100. Here I'm just showing you two examples, ISO 100, ISO 1600. So this is actually an important parameter in how we get the right exposure of an image that we're looking for. Film, a concept that started off with film, was how sensitive is the film. Now, the sensitivity of the film really depended on the chemicals that were put on it. That is, how much light sensitive is the film. And of course, to achieve that, you would have to put more chemicals. Just by the limitations of how much chemicals you could put on a film grain would result in basically how much granularity would have, because you really can't put in a lot of light sensitive chemicals on a film with restrictions on the density of the film and all that kind of stuff. When we look at film, we'll talk a little bit about that in the next sub-lecture. In case of digital, basically it comes out to is what is the sensitivity of the sensor itself. Again, when we look at sensors, we'll discuss this a little bit more carefully, but here basically the bottom line is the sensor sensitivity can be now replicated by a number equivalent to the ISO. Just as an important point to note, the relationship between different ISO values is linear. A 200 ISO needs half the light of a 100 ISO. So this one actually would take lots of nature lights, but 1600 would be something I can use indoor without a lot of light. Just to show you the details of this kind of stuff, here you can see the images of the ISO zoomed in, ISO 100 zoomed in, and this is the ISO 1600 zoomed in. And here you might be able to see a lot of noise in the two different colors of yellow and green, and the boundary should also be a little bit blurred because, again, more chemicals have been put into this film, which basically means that there's mixing going on a little bit. Here, you find this crisp. Of course, ISO 1600 would be used something where it is low light conditions. ISO 100 would be used when it's nice and sunny. But again, photographers play around with this depending on what their needs are.